I invested $23 about 7.5 years ago in a little known asset, and today that same investment is worth $687,000. Now, today we're going to be talking about what I call the Bitcoin effect, and the statement that I made at the beginning of the video is completely false. I did not make a $23 investment with that sort of, return. I wish I had, but I feel like this is an important topic to discuss, and I think I just said it, but yeah, I dub it the Bitcoin effect, and it is an important force to be cognizant of in the collectibles industry, in precious metals and gold, in a lot of different ones, NFT, Bitcoin, crypto, and pretty much any sort of collectible out there. I've noticed this sort of frenzy, and there are some massively skyrocketing prices. I think my main content focus is on coins, and coins has just been a strong market, but it hasn't been to the level near a lot of the other ones, and again, just not with collectibles, but with pretty much any sort of investment. And this video is just going to be kind of me talking and giving my thoughts, and the source is just trust me. So there's not this isn't something that I've typed out. I just wanted to share these thoughts with you because I've seen a lot of different collectibles evolve over the years, and what happened, basically, we can go back to 2011, but I just want to discuss this with you so that you can kind of temper your expectations or just approach this sort of, if you want to call it investing, I would probably call it speculating or even gambling, but just to think through how you're spending your money, because it matters. You don't want to lose everything, and you just want to have a smart approach. So obviously anybody who invested, a very small amount of money, maybe it was $20 like I said, if you had put that in when Bitcoin was trading at a few cents per coin right at the beginning, you would have made an unbelievable return, assuming that you held the whole way. But what that has spawned is this mentality, and I think that it is a little bit unique because previously there really weren't these sorts of vehicles that were totally unknown, and really didn't exist, that kind of just sprung up out of absolutely nowhere. There've certainly been some good, maybe if you're in the tulip craze, I want to say in the late 1700s, sure, maybe you made that sort of return. But I think that the thing to be wary of is what happens when you have some investments that start really small and get to the size that they are, and they have that much publicity around them. You don't see that people have lost out. There's tons of people who have gotten crushed along the way. But what also happens is that same mentality gets applied to all these little other areas of collecting. I think similar, it's a similar phenomenon happened. I follow in trading cards. So I like playing Magic. I got some boxes up there. It's been less there. It's been quite a strong market, but especially with Pokemon cards, or more, a more tangible example, I'll start with Pokemon. So some of those prices have absolutely skyrocketed, like 10, 20, 30, 50x, depending on where you got into the market. And that's super fun, but that has also spilled over into other collectibles, like Harry Potter trading cards, which is a game that almost nobody plays, has seen the same thing happen. I was able to do well. This is actually a real investment. I thought it would be fun to just own a box of these sealed cards. I sold it, so I used to have it up on the shelf behind me, but I paid like $28, and then recently I sold for $350 on eBay. So after all the fees, it was obviously a very, very good return, and certainly could have gotten in earlier than I did. But it's something to, the reason that I sold is because you want to look at what the actual value of the things that your items are providing. So the phenomenon for dead card games has just been kind of mind-boggling. It's sort of fun. I mean, it's nice to display a sealed case of cards. It's nice art on the boxes, but there's not really any value that the box provides outside of just existing and maybe looking nice. But the cards are not too valuable inside, and a little bit of a disjointed comment here, but I've noticed the same thing happen with things like, Dogecoin. It's kind of a meme. There's also a token or coin crypto called SafeMoon. some of my friends invested in, and some of them did pretty well with it. But the way that it works is, I want to say, when you sell, 10% of your profit gets put out into other, or 10% of your coins, something like that, gets given to other users. So it's literally a Ponzi scheme, like the definition of how it works. And there's very little utility. These things aren't really being used. I mean, I don't know anybody who would accept Dogecoin, 10,000 Dogecoin at the market value for a purchase. I mean, maybe you could liquidate it right away. But these sorts of things, there's very limited how useful they are. I mean, if you look at cars, I was talking to a friend and he used this example, like the Model T, it's not driving around. The technology in crypto is pretty impressive, and I think that Bitcoin will, I own some Bitcoin. I don't own a ton, but I've bought into it at a low cost. It went up, and I sold what I put in plus a little bit more, and I'm able to own a little bit today. But I think that you have to view that as totally speculative and not really a big strategy for wealth creation, because at the end of the day, something like SafeMoon, I think that's the name, Dogecoin, there's very little utility. I mean, and maybe you have somebody like Elon Musk tweeting about it, but that's kind of a whole different other discussion. But the same thing with the Harry Potter cards. There's very little usefulness in actually playing with them. There's not too many people who view it as like a really good game. There's not a huge player base. It's fun to collect. Like I said, I would probably pick up another box and just put it on the shelf if I could buy it for $30. But when they're selling for $300 or $400 on eBay, it's an easy sale. So, I mean, the stuff behind me, Magic the Gathering, that's maybe a little bit of a different case, because there's it's very playable. It's a really good game, and a lot of people think that it's probably the biggest card game in the world. And the boxes will always have some sort of base value just to be able to play with. So I view them as totally speculative. They're a little bit of an investment, but more as something that's just fun to do. And so same a little bit, not totally, with silver and gold. See, a lot of people going around pumping up silver, especially on YouTube. I like silver, and I'm going to make a lot of content in the future about how to collect it and how to be involved with it. And a lot of strategies that I would have as somebody approaching silver. But there's all these people who say, hyperinflation's coming, this is going to, jump, or there's these like Reddit silver squeeze stuff. I really don't buy any of that. I think that's a great way for people to get some advertising clicks when they kind of promote it themselves, or maybe do some affiliate sales. I mean, it's great for the creators to have that sort of thing, the content creators, or people who are able to use it to market. But the demand for silver is like 50% industrial, so it's very much an industrial metal. And I would say gold is better for the hyperinflationary concerns. I mean, silver is a great metal, but at the same time, all the things have something very important and in common with each other, whether it's sports cards, Pokemon or Magic cards, or Harry Potter, any dead card game. And when I say, never mind, dead card game, you have silver, gold, coins, stamps, anything collectible. I think I've got some bottles back there in the background. They're not generating any cash. So that's often why stocks are valued the way they are, because you own some part of a business that's actually generating cash. It's doing something. So it's providing services, and ideally most businesses, they're generating free cash flow, and they're generating net income, and they're they're good businesses that they can then redistribute that cash to the shareholders, because you have part of that business, you get part of the profit. So that would be a dividend. There's also a lot of other ways to do it that are more complicated than this video, but they can actually do something and provide a service, as opposed to just be a commodity that's kind of traded and passed around, and you're hoping to enter at one price point and get out at another. It's not inherently actually generating cash. And I mean, stocks, it's not to say a lot of stocks are not valued anywhere close to in correlation with the current amount of cash that they're generating. But it also, the same thing with coin dealing. I think it's a good idea to get into coin dealing if you like that, or collectibles dealing, because at that point you're buying and then selling in a manner where you can make money in that process. And this is not, totally not talking to any collectors who just enjoy having it. Like I said before, I have some Pokemon cards. I don't really care about their value. They've gone up, but I just kind of enjoy. They remind me of my childhood when I was like 5, 6, 7. Those were my favorite things then, and they're really exciting to kind of see like the cool ones now. But I'm not approaching them in like a to the moon attitude. And I think what the other implication and the ramification of this is that you have all of these small things that are emerging. Like there's a card game, Flesh and Blood. It's a cool. I haven't played it, but people say that it's interesting. But there's all sorts of things, small like altcoins, coins that are not the main types of crypto, and just all these small little ways that you can, I guess, invest your money that inherently start way more expensive than they should be, just because people think this might be the next Bitcoin, so people get in initially. Often that's like encourages, it's a snowball effect of sorts, and you have something worth, like Dogecoin, worth more than a lot of massive companies that are providing tons of services. So getting back to the point from before, it's good to cultivate your own skills so that you can make money without, not just flipping it. And everybody has different types of jobs, but being the best that you can be in a narrow field is going to be a good idea. I think especially going forward with the world how it is, people need to, there's a lot. It's a lot easier to get a wider reach, so things are replaceable. AI. I am a big believer that in the future a lot of jobs, they have been replaced by artificial intelligence and computers. And I think that will continue to be. And I think that the way to avoid and mitigate is by having some really strong expertises. So that could be in a knowledgeable field. It could be in, being a really good person. You could be in both. But I think that as a way to defend against this, so as you're looking out and you're not getting super hyped up in things that essentially amount to Ponzi schemes, because I know this for a fact in Pokemon, there's tons of people who are involved in the hobby, and they're just doing it to make some money. And I'd like to make, that would be nice if I made money, but none of the buys that I've made, even if I think it's a good card to grade and then flip, or same thing with coins. Like if I own these coins all at the end of the day, I'd be pretty excited about that. I'd much rather, I wouldn't be excited at the fact that I had lost money, but it's like there's meaning to me in what I'm collecting and in what I'm buying beyond it just being a financial, spin the lottery, spin the wheel, and see what can come out of it. So this Bitcoin effect, so to speak, I think it's something that's kind of damaging to a lot of fields that can become highly speculative. I'm not complaining about it. I think it's often great for people. Somebody like me gets to make a little bit of money out of, culling off the parts of my Pokemon collection that I think are way overvalued. Same thing with coins. If there's a slight increase in the market, I think coins is a pretty bit. It's a different beast because there's a large supply of coins in most cases, and it really hasn't been targeted as a to the moon environment. But I see that language kind of creeping in, especially on YouTube, to some of the silver and gold. Really hits silver, and my guess is that it's because it's easier for people to buy in. They can attract a larger crowd. I think there's going to be a lot more people watching when I make videos about silver bullion than gold bullion. But think about why you're getting into it beyond somebody on the internet told you it'll go up in a little bit for more than what you can pay for it right now. There's also liquidity concerns. Something like Bitcoin you can sell really easily, but there's still liquidity issues in Bitcoin. But with things like most cards, coins, that sort of thing, you can't immediately find a buyer. So if the bubble starts to pop and tons of product comes on the market, or same thing with a lot of the lesser known cryptocurrencies or lesser known card games. I've seen this in, the Harry Potter thing popped a little bit at the time that I'm filming this video. Maybe it's up another 1,000% tomorrow. But the point is that you just have to watch out, because there can be massive downward price pressure and things can come crashing down when all the people who only got involved in it because there's money and didn't see any value also want to get out. So this has been kind of a ramble. I hope that my Bitcoin effect analogy made sense. Hopefully, I'm interested to see what other people think, but this is something that's been on my mind. It's a little bit dangerous, but I think it's just something more so to be aware of. Know what you're buying when you're purchasing it. Why are you buying it? Do you really like it? Do you like it and you think it'll go up in value as well? Or is it just something that somebody told you and you haven't put a ton of thought into it and really understood it? I mean, to be totally honest, the thing about silver, 50% industrial, probably a little bit more than that even, I didn't really realize that. I thought it was all, why aren't banks pouring into silver to counteract hyperinflation? That's probably going to be a gold thing, or maybe you do real estate. I'm trying to think what other defensive things, materials in general. But they're not really targeting silver. Silver is very much tied to the industrial use and not as important when, a bunch of people from Reddit or YouTube go and buy 100 to, call it 1,000 ounces each from the dealers. That'll drive up premiums on physical silver in the US. But it's just good to, again, take a step back, look at what you're purchasing. Maybe it'll be the next Bitcoin, but also remember that because Bitcoin exists, the Bitcoin-like opportunities are much smaller going forward. So actually, maybe it's time to go create a Ponzi scheme crypto and give myself half the ownership, and then see if I can convince people on Reddit to buy into it, and that could work out quite well for me. So maybe I'll go put my mind to that. But in the meantime, as I'm doing that, let me know what your thoughts are on the video in the comments. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel and connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have a website, treasuretownYT.com, where you should go so that you can learn more about coins as well as what's happening on the channel and possibly find a place to sell your coins and collectibles. I also want to talk about some of my other projects like coinmeltprice.com, which shows precious metals prices as well as the melt values of coins containing those precious metals, both US and world. I also have coinsmetalscards.com, which will develop into a full marketplace, as well as a news source for coins, metals, cards, as the name might suggest. And then treasuretowncoins.com, which long-term will be my coin dealing entity, separate from the channel. And lastly, whatsthegrade.com, which will be a stickering service for already certified collectibles, where you can get a approval or verification of the grade on the holder. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.